Now, in this story, Kota Minister Thembin Kadimeng says an investigation will get underway to determine whether deaths in the Eastern Cape could have been prevented. This as several parts of the province have been devastated by inclement weather conditions. 10 people have died in the Eastern Cape.
And remember, every disaster by its own nature goes with investigation. And that will naturally happen. We just don't say Mr. or Miss X passed because it was a disaster by. Like any other loss of a life, which is not natural, there has to be an investigation. And we'll make sure that this happens.
Kadimeng adds that the local government in Nelson Mandela Bay must account for the alleged delays and the poor response rate to the floods in the area.
The municipal manager must clearly account to me and the mayor the inconsistencies between what the report was saying and what I saw on the ground. 2, communities who were never visited at the 72 hour. They were called by us. So it means the mayor must charge officially the municipal manager. The same with the councillor. The code of conduct of councillors is binding and it's very clear that not taking care of the community is one of the dereliction of your duties.
Kadimeng has, however, commended the response of the SAPS K9 unit in the floods.
The SAPS response, K9, was very good. So there is a distinction here. Remember when SAPS finds you in your house or somewhere, they have to move you to a place where a municipality has prepared. So, and we faltered on our responsibility. And that's what was not taking us. So the mayor was the only one present, and really it wasn't a good sign.
Over 1,000 people have been moved to community halls and churches after floods tore through several parts of the province. Newzroom Afrika's Sipha Kema joins us from Kuyga. Sipha, you were talking to us earlier. Thank you so much, firstly, for joining us again. Earlier in your report, when you're talking to the breakfast team, you're mentioning, the community halls and some of the reluctance from residents to move into those halls because of criminal elements. But now you've moved, it seems you are in knee-high waters.
Well, absolutely, Masa. This is the same area and community we were with the community hall. Where we are, it's in Kuyga, and part of Kuyga was affected, of course, also by the floods. But most parts of these areas have not yet dried out, Masa. As you can see, you mentioned, as you're saying, that I'm knee-deep in water currently. And I think we're going to show you around just a bit on how currently some of the people are staying here. And you might be asking yourselves, why are they not in these community halls? Why are they still staying here? But you can see right behind me, Masa, as I said earlier on, that the structures are still up. They're not completely destroyed, but the houses inside have flooded. It's still wet and damp inside. You can smell the dampness as well. And one of the issues that was mentioned even by the Premier as well as the MEC of Kota in the Eastern Cape was an issue of outbreak of diseases because of the filth that will actually come out from these waters. Some of these waters are actually combined with sewage because of the overflow that came from the floods. But let's bring in Jack over here. Mr. Jack, come here close to me. Let's talk about this. I know your house is flooded, one of those houses that is flooded.
Afrikaans. My huis is vol water. Every people here, ons hier in die area, sy huis is vol water. Maar niemand van ons komitees doen iets vir ons en ons dinge se nie. Ons sukkel. Toilets, ons het die toilets vlieg.
Maar hoekom was jy nie by die saal nie?
Ek was by die saal gewees, ons was daar.
Het jy geslaap by die saal?
Nee, ek sliep in my home. Maar ons doen, ons kom bezig, is nat en dinges, maar ons slaap maar onder nat goede, ons slaap.
Maar hoekom slaap jy nie by die saal? Wat is die probleem?
Nee, ek kan nie my huis so los nie, dan gaan die diewe kom en vat hulle steel jou goed uit jou huis. Met TV so kan ek nie los en goed dit los nie meer. Dit wat ek net sê. Dat is dan die dinge moet jy doen. As net die plek wat niks mense doen in die area vir ons nie.
Kom wys ons jou huis. Kom ons gaan. We're just going to move now, Massa. I'm just going to tell you what he was telling us. He was telling us exactly what we were talking about. Why is he not in the community hall? Why are some of the people still here? He's also saying the same thing. Criminal elements are the biggest issue here. That's the reason why he hasn't left his house. And he says he goes to the hall for meal times. We know that organizations like Gift of the Givers, SA Food Forward have been assisting these communities, most especially in here in Kuyga, by providing meals from their morning, afternoon, and also supper time meals. But they're saying they cannot stay in the community halls. They are worried about their personal belongings that are there. Yeah, you stay here.
Ja, stay here.
And it's wet inside.
Ja, I did nog inside my.
Yeah. And it's wet inside. Your house is wet.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to move in now, Massa, just to show you inside this one home as well. Just to show you inside. I mean, one of the homes that we went and visited now, Massa, inside, we saw inside, it was wet. She couldn't even have the bed up. So let's take you in so you can see for yourself. It's literally flooding inside. It's not even wet or damp inside here. Here we go. There we go. You can see water up to her ankle. This is what she's living in, but of course leaves for during the day at times to go to the community hall when there's meals and food. But however, she feels as though she cannot leave what she has inside. As we mentioned earlier on, that some of the flood victims, even though their structures are still intact, even though some of their belongings are still intact, but these are the conditions that they're living with now, Massa. And these are some of the communities that haven't been mentioned or hasn't been any form of oversight visiting to see exactly how they're living. And I'm sure even your councillor, ma'am, your councillor, what's your councillor?
The councillors stay in locatie. In France. Maar the councillors come never look here. To say
so your councillor hasn't been since the flooding? You see, then, Massa, it speaks to what the Minister of Kuyga was saying regarding accountability. That's also one of the things that she did say to us during our conversation, a live crossing with her yesterday when we spoke to her, saying that she is dismally disappointed in the response of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro Municipality regarding disaster management. And she was also saying that she found that some councillors were not even going into their communities, the affected communities, to actually take count for those that are victims and those that have been affected, so that information can be passed on to the municipality. And that is how the chain in communication breaks down, Massa, where we have communities such as these ones here in Kuyga currently walking through waters in the streets and in their homes, and no one knows about it.
Such heartbreaking visuals those are, just seeing those people in their homes and having to maneuver that terrain as well. They're really caught in between a rock and a hard place, Sipha, because should they leave their personal belongings and leave their homes and go to the community halls, then they face the advent of course, those criminal elements that you were mentioning earlier. But then if they're staying in their homes, they're actually in what is a damp and somewhat even flooded home. Really is devastating indeed, and hopefully there will be some accountability. Thank you so much for that report, Sipha Kema.